Welcome to Woodward Wings. I am Justice Satawa, and I am joined by Flannel Sam and Spencer Raxter, as Spencer is living his hysterical fantasy that the Red Wings will be hoisting a Stanley Cup within the next 5 years. But, you know, Mason Appleton.
Hey, listen. Spartan dog, Mason Appleton. You know, obviously, this is not what we want to happen or the only thing we want to happen, but this was a good signing that will help the penalty kill, will help your 5-on-5 defense. He's a grinder. He's a guy that will play the entire ice, and he's going to help the penalty kill a lot. So it's not the big splash signing that the Red Wings needed, but it is something that they needed, and I'm glad they addressed it. Did they spend a little bit too much for him? Maybe, but that's the spot we are.
Not according to Cap Analytics.
And that's the spot we are as Detroit Red Wings, where, first of all, the NHL salary cap is going up a lot, so these contracts are going to be bigger than they normally would. Second of all, you're going to have to pay a little bit more to get guys to come to Detroit, even guys like that. But shout out, like I said, Spartan Dog. And no, I'm not just glazing him because he went to Michigan State. He's actually very good on the penalty kill, and he's going to help that a lot.
I don't know. I'm not big on him helping the penalty kill a bunch because I do have my roommate is a Winnipeg Jets fan, and I texted him last night and I was like, hey, we just signed Mason Appleton. Like, can he at least kill penalties? And he was like, yes, but not at a high clip. He played with their best penalty killer, Laurie, so I don't really want to put him on him fixing the penalty kill completely. But
he adds to it. I don't think he's going to fix the penalty kill completely. But I think with a healthy Andrew Kopp, with Carter Mazur being in the mix, and Mason Appleton being a guy that is good at that, it will improve the penalty kill vastly.
Yes.
What's the thing? The Red Wings, I think, if you could say one good thing that they've done, I think bottom six forwards, Van Riemsdyk, Appleton, I think that they have value. Needed to do a lot more than that, but Appleton with the penalty kill, maybe being a third or fourth line center, probably fourth. I don't hate that. Don't hate it, but I'm obviously kind of I'm not going to pound the table and say that's an awesome signing. It was a fine signing, a very fine signing.
So in my Winnipeg Jets fans, in quotes, when I asked him, give me the rundown on Appleton, he said he's going to miss wide open nets and cost you Game 6 versus Dallas. Well, good thing we have to get there first.
I would love if he costed us Game 6 versus Dallas. Because that means we're in the playoffs and we're in Game 6 against Dallas.
He said single-handedly he lost them that game by missing open nets. And he said he's a solid third-line guy, but you will get frustrated with how many open nets he misses.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Not going to lie, because the third and fourth line guys we've had the past couple years have missed open nets, and we're also big pussies. So having a guy out there that actually has some grit to his game is actually going to get dirty, do some things. If you're missing open nets, I can live with it. If you're killing penalties, you're playing good defense.
Applesauce. What a nickname, dude.
Applesauce that's a great nickname.
Yeah.
Hockey nicknames are the best, dude.
I completely agree. I think we can all kumbaya on the fact that at least the top six, the bottom six, is better than last year.
Bottom six is good.
We're not trotting out Mott. We're not trotting out Smith.
God, dude.
Appleton is better than both of them. He also has the versatility to play center and play wing. He wins faceoffs. So this isn't a bad signing. Like I'm not going to sit up here and I'm going to completely poo-poo all these like depth signings that are solid depth signings. Like even as I've looked deeper into Jacob Bernard-Docker's game, I see the value. I see why they think that is a move. In terms of your third pairing defenseman, he is probably better than Jeff Petrie. He blocks a lot of shots. His analytics aren't awful.
He's definitely better than Jeff Petrie.
So I understand that yes, we probably have gotten better, but when we're talking about the Eastern Conference, everyone else made significant moves to improve the top end of their team.
Yeah.
And that is how you win in this league. This is a star-driven league. And we do not have the star power to push for the playoffs as the roster currently sits right now. Is that too far-fetched to say?
No.
No. Not far-fetched at all. And like you said, these lower moves, and you want to include Jacob Bernard-Docker. I might have gotten a little emotional and said, is he better than Petrie? He's better than Petrie. He's better than Petrie. You could maybe see him on the third pairing. That's fine. I mean, that's all well and good, depth pieces, but the top six and the top four, that's what still is just eating at me right now because they're not good yet.
No.
Got some nice pieces, but I think those nice pieces are going to continue to be held back by lack of what's around them.
I agree. And no, I think that's very close-fetched. I think that is very reasonable to say. And again, yeah, you need to get better in the top 4 and the top 6. You have to if you want to actually compete in the playoffs. If you actually want to compete in the East, that is going to be a fucking gauntlet next year. You know, surprise, surprise, the Eastern Conference is insane. It always is. But you need to address that. I still think they're going to. I still think they're going. And if Steve Yzerman goes out there and he trades for a Robo or he trades for a, fingers crossed Tage Thompson or somebody of that level to either improve the top 6 or the top 4, then you look at the Appleton and the Van Riemsdyk signings to be like, okay, that was actually a pretty damn good offseason. You got solidity in your bottom 6. You got some penalty kill eaters out there, and then you traded for a guy that's going to make a difference.
I think right now you're sitting at about a C+, B- range. It's a solid offseason at the moment. Like, you did improve.
I would say C-, C.
Yep, I'm with Spenny.
That's fair. See, I said C+, and I thought I was being too big of a hater because I got reamed on Twitter for that. But
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, the John Gibson move, that's an A. That's an A. Turning Joe Valeno into John Gibson, that's an A+.
That's an A+.
But this, I cannot give this offseason bigger than a C if they don't address the top 6 or the top 4. Cannot.
Because we were saying a B+ offseason was addressing 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
Of goalie, top 6 forward, and top 4 defense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's fair. I think a C+ to C, I think we're all in lockstep there. I think that this has the potential to be a good offseason, but we're not there yet. And I think it's okay to criticize. I think it's okay to be worried.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you are dependent on players who Steve Yzerman will have to trade for. And Steve Yzerman has shown the ability time after time that he is unwilling to trade high-level assets to get guys. And that is what scares me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But he's also shown he's willing to make the splash trade, to bring in an Alex DeBrincat, to bring in a John Gibson. So
we're hitting that point. I mean,
we are hitting that point. And that's why we were freaking out. That's why when we had our Doom Death stream, I was saying that it sucks that they've painted themselves in this corner to where they have to trade for somebody now. That is never a good option when you are forced to do something. So it gives me eerily similar vibes of last year with the we're getting Trouba, we're going after Trouba.
Well, thank God Burns is gone, so we can stop talking about that.
No Brent Burns, thank God. Even though
Colorado,
again, Brent Burns in a vacuum for a 1-year deal wouldn't have been a bad move, but that can't be your centerpiece. But yeah, it gives me vibes of last year, but there's no way they don't make a deal. They still got like $13-12 million left in cap space. How much was Soderblom's AAV? It was
1.2. It was really nice AAV for 2 years.
That's very good.
I really like it. Gives him a chance to bridge and grow as a player. I do not know how Bergeron is making more than Soda, but I mean, hey.
Yeah.
I think that Soda brings some more value with his size than Bergeron does with his skill, but that's another conversation.
I think Bergeron's going to be filler in one of these trades.
I think so, too.
I think that's the only reason you re-signed him.
I agree. I think that he is going to be just that, 24-year-old flyer that you're taking on a guy who never really grew to be the player
I could see them trading for a top 6 guy, and it would entice a team to get Danielson and Bergeron, so you have the young guy that you're hoping is going to be a top 6 guy, and then you've got the guy that could possibly be a second or third line scorer if he turns out.
And shout out to Neil. Neil yesterday played the Keandre Miller trade game, and yes, I think we can all stay in agreement. We were unwilling to give up ASP for Keandre Miller.
Yeah.
Which I think would have been an egregious overpay for Keandre Miller.
Carolina paid a premium price.
They did. And for Carolina,
that's good.
Great move for them.
Great move for them.
Shut up their decor for the next 8 years.
We're not in the same situation.
We're not in the same boat.
Yeah.
And that's where I get off the highway with Keandre Miller, and I personally was fine after realizing that it would take ASP to get him, where I was like, all right, I'm not doing it. It's just not.
No, I mean that's fair. The only and like I said, I get it. I wouldn't give up ASP either. I guess the problem is
because if you're taking a swing, you might as well take a swing on ASP because ASP has the possibility of being better than Keandre Miller is right now.
Sure. It's just as of right now, and I'm not trying to be well. Actually, who cares if I'm trying to be doomsday? As of right now,
you can be doomsday if you want.
I know we all like the website Daily Faceoff, and this is obviously not the Bible, but right now the Red Wings have their defensive pairings as Simon Edmondson and Mo Seider.
Which will not happen, by the way. I got in a fight on Twitter about it. They will not be playing together if the decor is as it is currently constructed.
No, they literally can't.
They will not be able to.
They literally can't.
Because the second pairing they have listed right now, Ben Sherratt and Jacob Bernard Docker. Third pairing, Aljo and Hull.
Dude, they have Hall in the third pairing?
They have Hall in the third
Daily Faceoff, figure it out.
But right now, though? What can you say?
He'd still be the 7th or 8th defenseman on this team.
I understand.
There's no way Hull would be on the third line. It would be Gustafsson before it's Hull.
Let's hope ASP pans out, because now when we talk about the Keandre Miller trade, I can't prove to you that they didn't. Why didn't they go harder at Lindgren or CC? They were signed for reasonable deals. Just throwing that out there. Because, yes, the Hurricanes, at different stages of the highway, they made a deal that they're trying to win the cup every year because they're a perennial playoff team, and I get why they did it. But
yeah,
I just if they're not willing to endure some pain for someone who can help you now, I just wish they would have been more aggressive with free agents. And now you're looking at Dmitry Orlov and Alec Martinez. Not the worst in the world, but certainly nothing that's going to move the needle too much.
That's not even going to move the needle a little bit, in my opinion. I think those are guys who are way past their prime. They're guys who aren't going to help this team take it to the next level. They are like all these other signings, like the Appletons and the JBDs. Like, they're just not moving the needle. Like, they're good moves. Like, they are making the roster better, but like not enough to actually go and compete to win a playoff series or even get into the playoffs. Because currently, I looked yesterday, the Red Wings are minus 290 to miss the playoffs next year. Say that again. Minus 290 to make the playoffs next year.
To make the playoffs?
No, miss.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Plus 225 to make the playoffs.
Not betting that.
Not betting that.
Unless we see it's... Well, if you believe that Steve Yzerman is going to do something, and by do something, I mean trade for a legitimate player to help this team, then you should make that bet right now. Because if they trade for a top 6 guy or a top 4 defenseman, that will probably even out.
Yes. I could definitely, but right now, as of right now, they are the 10th best team in the East, easily. Like, it is, if you just look at the rosters, side by side, going down the block, you're obviously not touching that top 4 with Toronto, Carolina, the Florida, Tampa. You're not catching those teams this year. Maybe not even in the next couple years, to be honest. But you can catch teams like Columbus, like... Dude, I don't know if you can even catch the Devils with Jack Hughes on their team.
No, probably not.
I wouldn't include the Devils, but
the Montreals, the Columbuses.
Devils had what, 91
points without Jack Hughes.
Yeah, you're not catching the Devils.
I honestly think they're going to put up 98 next year. They're going to be one of the best teams in the East.
Yeah.
So I think that just shows how desperate we truly are. So let's talk about who even is available at this point. I mean, obviously, the free agent market is as slim as it gets. I mean, there's Orlov out there, but he's 37, probably looking for a multi-year deal to be his last NHL contract. Are you really willing to do that? Me personally, I'm not willing to sack a bunch of money up for an old vet who I don't know if we're even going to get even remotely the best minutes of their career. So, like, that moves us to the trade market, which I think we all knew from the start. We did think he would be a little more active in free agency, but we all knew the bread and butter was going to be made in the trade market. He said it. He came out and said it, and that's where he's been. Yeah. So I think that the number one guy for the top 6 for all of us, other than Robo, because I think Robo is in the pipe dream category of Tage Thompson. Yeah, they're looking like they're going to re-sign him. Yeah. The Stars are looking like everything that's come out lately says the Stars, because they lost Granlund, are going to probably be able to extend him.
That makes sense.
Because they wanted to, the original rumor was they wanted to keep Granlund and trade Robo.
Yeah.
So with Granlund gone, I think that it goes into the pipe dream category with Tage Thompson. I think that it's Jason Robertson, Tage Thompson. I mean, maybe Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin are in there as well, because obviously you never know what's going to happen in Buffalo. But Brian Rust would be the prize of the top 6 forwards, like left on the trade market, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or Raquel Ricard.
Yeah.
So
Brian Rust would be awesome. Brian Rust would be. We've talked about him many times already on the show on how good of a fit he would be on this team and how he would provide not only some grit to that top 6 and something that they're missing out of that, but he could mentor a guy like Carter Mazur. He could help these, eventually even Michael Brands-Nygaard, these guys that you want to be your playoff forwards, you want to be those two-way grit guys. He could help them because right now, who is Carter Mazur looking at in this team and being like, I'm going to learn from him? Now, maybe Mason Appleton, but I don't want him learning from Michael Rasmussen. Like, I'm sorry. I'm kind of off the Ras train. You guys know I was a big Michael Rasmussen supporter, but the more and more that he plays like he plays, and I don't want to use expletives because I do, but he needs someone, by he I mean Carter Mazur, needs somebody that could teach him how to be an asshole in this league. Same with Marco Kasper. And I think Brian Rust would be a perfect guy to do that, as well as help this team hopefully make the playoffs.
No, Brian, let me just say this. If the Red Wings were to acquire Brian Rust on top of Appleton, on top of Van Riemsdyk, I'll give Steve a clap for the forwards.
It would be very good.
I will for the forwards. I will say goaltender, cool. Forwards, cool. D, for now. But Brian, you want to talk about having a couple of dirtbags, Appleton, Brian Rust. Like, I think those moves would just
they would build on the Rust mood, but they
would,
can't.
yeah.
They aren't complete or even positive enough until they make another move where you can totally see the vision of this roster.
Yeah.
And I don't.
These are like Appleton and Van Riemsdyk are much better moves than Tarasenko and who was another forward that we even signed? Mott. Like they are. They are better than that. These are guys that will play. Van Riemsdyk will give you 15 goals. He'll be a guy that can play on your second power play. He'll be a guy that will help you in your 5-on-5 scoring. We already talked about what Appleton will do for your special teams. Obviously the PK mainly. Those are fine depth moves, and they're much better depth moves than we saw him make last year. But we're not at the point where we just need to add depth and say, okay, that was a good offseason. We need a star. And now you got to trade for one.
Yeah, by the way, that same Daily Face-Off website lists James Van Riemsdyk on the first line as of right now.
Jesus Christ.
As of right now.
Yeah, I mean, who else would play there?
Can't happen, though. Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather have James Riemsdyk there than Soderblom or Berggren. Like, I mean, straight up. Like, I'd rather keep Kasper at center in an ideal world. Like, there's no reason to move Kasper to a less valuable position when he's already proven as a rookie that he can play meaningful 2C minutes and possibly 1C minutes. No? Okay.
No.
I appreciate everyone's agreement.
I wouldn't mind Kasper being 1C. I think that
he's got to grow into that. Though.
He's got to grow into that, but I think that it's very reasonable to
I think it's reasonable.
See him project to that. I think that, like I said, next year I think he's going to be around 30 goals, and I think he's really going to get more of that rat into his game that we saw him do in Worlds, that we saw him being that rat. So, yeah.
No, I know what your point is. You want Marco Kasper to grow as a center and then eventually maybe even overtake Dylan Larkin.
He kind of has to.
You don't want him to be playing on the first line as a wing right now.
No.
I know that he could be effective, but that's not – you're misusing Marco Kasper at this point.
I also want him to be like one of the dudes on his line right now. Like, he makes that second line go right now. Like, he is the legs that makes that second line go.
Yeah.
And I think if you put him on the first line, he would defer to Raymond and Larkin, and I don't want him to do that. I want him to...
I agree. You put him with Cat, and you put him with...
It says Kane right now.
It says right now it's Kane. Right now it's Kane.
Which, not the worst thing, but I'd like someone in there that can help him with the 5-on-5 defense, because I don't want Marco Kasper being the only wing defender on his line. And if Cat tries to get gritty, Cat tries to do stuff, but like there's only so much you can do when you're 5'4". So Kane has to be a third liner. That's why we need to add That's why we need to add
Because
top
Cobb
6.
can single-handedly recover for his defense.
Yes.
And he proved that last year.
Patrick Kane has to be a third liner on this team if you want to make the playoffs. I think that's where I'm at. My 2 things for I will say this Red Wings team will make the playoffs is if Patrick Kane is a third liner and if Justin Hall isn't on the roster. I think if either of those
extremely fair.
or if both of those happen, you'll be a playoff team. If either of those don't happen, you won't.
I think both of those are extremely fair to look at and want to see out of the Red Wings. But with the trade market dwindling, I have a list here. Shout out to Hockey Writers. They put it together. 18 names that could be on the move this offseason. And they've all been in rumors so far. The first one on this list is Marco Rossi, an RFA. Personally, I am not that turned on by Marco Rossi. Yes, he has 24 goals and 60 points last year, but he's a 5'9" center, and I just don't think we can bring in another guy that's short and is going to have to play the center position, which we already have, honestly, oversaturated at the moment.
We have way too many liabilities on our first 2 lines when it comes to 5-on-5 and when it comes to playoff guys. The only legitimate guys on your first 2 lines that I could expect to be positives in the playoffs are Larkin and Kasper right now when it comes to full length of the ice. We saw Raymond get after it a little bit, but his scoring needs to be there. If his scoring falls apart, then he's going to be a liability in the playoffs. You already know how I feel about Patrick Kane. Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah, his usage got cut in half during the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's just not something that I'm in the market.
No, you need playoff performers.
Because you would have to give up premier assets for him. You saw how the Keandre Miller deal went down. That's the structure that Rossi's trade is going to be going down. So I personally, that is the least attractive option to me because of how much you're going to have to give up for him and the fit.
Solid player with the Wild. Exactly what we don't need. To a T. Small,
literally.
Center.
Yeah, no thanks.
Usage being dropped in the playoffs? Absolutely not.
So probably the most notable name that's available, but he does have a no movement clause, so I don't know how that would exactly work. But Jordan Kyrou has been circulating in rumors. The Canadians couldn't get it done. They wouldn't give up enough assets to get Jordan Kyrou. I personally don't think we can give up enough assets to get Jordan Kyrou, considering the fact we would be unwilling to give up Kasper. We'd be unwilling to give up ASP. I think that this is also another move that's out of our grasp. But it would be nice as he's coming off a season with 36 goals and 70 points.
Yeah, that would be very nice. That would give you a right wing, a bigger right wing, and
that could play with Larkin.
That could play
Raymond,
with Larkin
Raymond
and could play with
left.
Raymond. Yeah, that is that would be very nice.
No, absolutely.
$8.5 million through 2031 though on his contract, which is a good contract. No, that's a pretty good contract with how the cap's
through 2031 though is what I'm saying. Are you really? Are you ready?
26.
Are you ready to commit to him for that long though? Can he continue to do what he did last year for another 4 years?
I think he would be playing with the best line mates of his career. So I think that it would be. I would expect over 30 goals from him.
I was going to say, Jordan Kyrou's been consistent since for the last 4 years, has given you respectively 27, 37, 31, and 36 when it comes to goals. High assist total, high percentage of it on the 5-on-5. The through 2031 doesn't concern me. He'd be our first line wing right now.
I do like that he's not a power play merchant, and that's something that we need to get rid of because we already got one power play merchant on the team. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want all the big titties on Twitter to come after me for talking shit about him. But it is good that he would help the 5-on-5 scoring. I just don't want to get my hopes up.
I don't want to get my... I think that's a little unrealistic.
Because that would be an amazing fit.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for something to be like, no, I don't want him. No, that wouldn't be... What would we have to give up to get him? What would be a realistic... You'd have to give up Danielson. It would start with Danielson.
I believe that probably they want a NHL-ready player, and that's where I think it would cost you Kasper. And that's where I get off the highway. Yeah. Because I'm not willing – I'd rather roll the dice on Marco Kasper than trade for Jordan Kyrou, who's also a wing. It's a less valued position.
Yeah, I agree. Kasper is not untouchable, but closer than –
Not untouchable, but... Yeah. Not giving him up for Jordan Kyrou.
Giving up for Kasper and Danielson for Jordan Kyrou.
That's way too much.
That's way too much.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
God,
who'd be your second line center then? I mean, stuff we got to think about.
Exactly. It would be Andrew Copp.
Yeah.
I really like that. I can't get excited like this. I can't be like, okay, yeah, that would be awesome. Love that, because it's not going to happen. So I have to keep this out of the back of my mind, and then maybe it'll actually happen. Maybe, because it's never the move you expect with Steve Eisman.
It never is. And I don't expect this move. So maybe that he finds a way to talk them down to a reasonable price where he is comfortable giving up assets.
Why are they trying to move him?
I think they're either retooling or going into a rebuild because they know they don't have enough to sustain their success. So they're going to rebuild.
Yeah,
because all they have is Binnington and Cairo. That's all they have. Here's the cost. He has a 15-team no-trade list, so maybe the Wings aren't on there, so there's still a possibility.
I would be very surprised if the Wings weren't on that list.
I would be as well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Maybe 10 years ago the Wings wouldn't have been on that list, but
no way.
They want a attempt to supplement their early to 20s core with players. Yeah, so multiple players. Yeah, this is going to take a lot. Holy crap. Yeah, this is probably off the board for us. They want a young defenseman. They want a young forward that are almost either NHL ready or almost NHL ready, and they're going to want to pick.
Can I interest you in Albert Johansson, Jonathan Berggren, and a first-round pick? That would probably not get it done. I don't
think that would even get close to getting it done.
I would do that in a heartbeat, but yeah, that would probably not get it done.
So let's move on to some more realistic options because let's flip our gears to the decor for a second. There are a couple names out there that are still in the trade market that are semi-appealing. Bowen Byram, 7 goals, 38 points last year. Rasmus Andersson, 11 goals, 31 points. Bowen Byram's an RFA. Rasmus Andersson has 1 year left on his deal at $4.5 million. And then Erik Karlsson with a $10 million salary until 2027. But you will get Pittsburgh to retain.
How old is Erik Karlsson?
He's old,
was
but
he
he's
in the
not
Patrick Kane draft too?
No, he was after that.
Yeah, I know. That was a joke. Yeah, Erik Karlsson.
I think Erik Karlsson's intriguing. If you can
he's
have
kind
them,
of a cone now, though.
He is kind of a cone.
He's
but if you put him with someone like Edvinsson or with Seider.
He's got some offensive prowess that would still help you. Definitely help on the power play. Erik Karlsson wouldn't be something that I would clamor for. But I could see it. Like I said, he would fit very well with, like you said, with an Edvinsson or with a Seider, so he wouldn't have to be as much of a
jeez, that's brutal analytics.
Yeah.
0% defensive.
Yeah, he's a cone. Like I said,
literally a cone.
He is a cone. He's not what he used to be, but he's still very good offensively.
But 99 percentile offensively.
Yeah.
99 percentile on the PP. 97 percentile in finishing.
Yeah.
And an 89% projected WAR over the entire season. So that's how much his offense carries his defense.
If you could make a package, I know this normally doesn't happen like that. Well, sometimes it does. But if you could get Brian Rust and Erik Karlsson, dude, see, okay, I can't even do that. Like, yeah, let's just make a perfect trade that would help both spots. But Erik Karlsson,
I mean, we were talking about it for Tristan Jarry and for Brian Rust. I don't see how, if you were willing to give up multiple prospects or a prospect in a first-round pick, why they wouldn't do that.
Why they wouldn't throw in Karlsson.
Because they're already literally drowning to the bottom of the East.
How many years does he have left on his deal, he said? Until 2027?
He has 3 years left on his deal. Or 2. I think it's 2.
If it's 2, okay. 3, I don't know.
UFA in 2027. So 2 years.
2 years,
next year, it drops from 10 million cap hit to 7.5 million cap hit.
Okay, yeah, I would definitely do that. Obviously, he's not going to help you defensively very much, but he will quarterback your power play, which would be huge, and he will be a great piece.
He would play with Edvinsson.
He would, and he would help Edvinsson's offensive development as well, because I think we all can agree that Edvinsson is more offensively sided than Mo Seider. Like, he's got more game offensively than Mo Seider does. So Karlsson, but then who would be on your first pair with Seider? Still Sherratt or Aljo?
Sherratt, Aljo. I mean, I can't lie. JBD played with Rasmus Dahlin for a lot of the year last year. So I mean, maybe him. Like, I mean,
I would not mind Carlson. I wouldn't love it, but if you got Brian Rust and Carlson, I think that would be a huge W trade.
Yeah. No, and especially because you lock him up to bridge to ASP. Like, you don't put the pressure on ASP to have to come up and be an impact immediately. You have Erik Karlsson to do that. And also, when ASP is ready, at worst case, 2026, Erik Karlsson's still on the roster. And they play the same position. Yeah. They play the same style. I think that would be great for ASP. Erik Karlsson's also a Swede. So, there's a nice little mix there. I think that as we are going through this offseason, I think Erik Karlsson is a lower risk than getting a guy like Bowen Byram and having to sign him to term and money, and Rasmus Andersson, who will be a free agent next year, who are the two more appealing options in the D market right now. But I think now as the D market's kind of shifting, I think Erik Karlsson is starting to, especially with a cap retain, if they're retaining cap, I'm all for it.
Flannel, are we ridiculous for wanting another 60-year-old man?
No, you're not ridiculous. My thing, though, is, and this is where
we're talking about a D that still puts up 53 points on a dumpster fire of our team.
No, and that's 100% fair. But of the names that you mentioned, I am both intrigued and a little frightened by Rasmus Andersson. And here's why.
I am afraid of Rasmus Andersson. That is my least favorite of the board.
And I have a feeling as to why. Because spoiler alert, I didn't watch every Calgary Flames game. Obviously, I know of him and have seen him play and know what he does well. He's got a very weird combination when it comes to numbers. So he was 4th in the NHL in block shots last year, 196. That is a huge number. But of the guys who are top 25 in block shots, he was by far the worst plus minus. He was a minus 38 on a team that had a really good record. That's brutal. And I feel like I should do a little bit more homework tonight onto why that's the case, because those numbers, they don't mix.
No.
I don't know how that can happen. I'm going to find out how that happened, but that's why he's both intriguing and scary at the same time, because those 196 blocks.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that gets me bricked up.
That's what I'm saying, and he's not. I know Rasmus Andersson is dangerous. I'll say he's kind of a live wire. Like, maybe he works out, or maybe he's just another bum, and you'd have to invest a pretty decent amount of money into him if you want to keep him around here. But his pair with Mo Seider, I think, could work, because he's not the hitter. He's not going to go out there and search for body contact. That frees up Mo Seider to be that, and know that you have a guy on the back end in Anderson who's going to get down and stop a puck with his fucking face if he has to. He's going to get down there. He's going to sacrifice his body on the back end, so that frees Mo Seider to be a headhunter of sorts, and he provides a little bit of offense. I would probably take Karlsson. He's more of a safe bet, I would say, but again, another Swede, another guy that would fit in the locker room, another guy that would help. I don't know. I'm with you guys on that one, to where I don't want to say I really like it, because I know there's a lot of risk that goes into it, but I could see the fit.
I think seeing the fit is the biggest thing, because when you see the fit, you that's where I think we've done our best work this year, trying to identify whether or not Steve Yzerman will make moves or not, is the fit. Yeah. We saw the fit with Keandre Miller. He was in on Keandre Miller. The price was too premium, so he backed out. I think that's an absolute on-brand Steve Yzerman move.
Yeah, and it was the right move.
It was the right move, because of the fact you are taking a bigger swing with ASP, and that's what you need right now. You need stars. Keandre Miller is a very nice piece, but he's not a star.
No.
And that's where I think we all are in agreement that we're all glad that they didn't make that trade.
For the price.
For the price. Now that we've talked about the D, we're going to go to the forwards. And a name I've seen thrown around a little bit on Red Wings Twitter, which I'm going to shoot down immediately right now, is Nazem Kadri. Nazem Kadri is 35 years old. He has a $7 million deal that goes until he is 38 years old. So he has 4 years left on a $7 million contract.
Jesus Christ. What
yes.
Contract, dude. Good for him.
Dude, yeah, he got the bag. But I'm not willing to take on that contract to hinder when we're actually going to be making moves.
You think it's just because Stevie Y is the only reason that people are throwing that up there?
Yeah. I think that they think that it would be a cheap option, but it's not a cheap option, because the contract is abysmal. I don't think people look into the contract.
No.
And so that's where, like, oh, yeah, it's all great and fine and dandy, but, like, at the end of the day, he's making $7 million when he's 38 years old in the middle of our cup window. Like, if we're talking about realistically when this team should be competing for a cup, it's in, 3 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's have a $7 million cap hit on a 37-year-old when we're ready to win a Stanley Cup or even compete for a Stanley Cup.
I was going to say, with Nazem Kadri, too, he's put up good numbers with Calgary. He's not the same player.
No.
Like, when you watch him, he is not the same player. That's a lot of...
he used to be a great defensively. Now he is a pile.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
And you guys know why that is. Like, you go from playing with two of the best players in the world in Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, and then you go to Calgary. and
well, he stopped in Colorado first. He played with McKinnon.
Yeah, played with McKinnon as well. And that makes you look a lot better when you're playing with...
Shout out McKinnon for that contract.
Shout out to McKinnon for that contract for sure. He literally got him that bag. But that's... Yeah. When you're playing with guys of that level, whether it be a Mitch Marner, an Austin Matthews, or a Nathan McKinnon, probably three of the best 7 players in the world, it's going to make a guy like Nazem Kadri look better than he is. But when you put him on a Calgary or you put him in Detroit where he needs to be the guy or he needs to be at least a guy and he can't ride the coattails of a superstar, he's going to get exposed a little bit.
God, Calgary was such a weird team last year. Their worst plus minuses the worst plus minus on the team by far was Rasmus Andersson. Second, Nazem Kadri. Third, Jonathan Huberdeau.
How does they even win games?
They had a good record.
I know, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few other options here I think are intriguing. Obviously, Brian Russ is on this list. Yeah. But in that same breath, I think that this is another move that I would be in on. It would be Jonathan Marchessault. If Nashville is willing to give him up, he is on the older end, and he is signed until 2029, but it is only a $5.5 million cap hit for a guy who had 57 points last year in a down year. He would fill the need to play first-line minutes. Jonathan Marchessault has won cups, has played high-leverage minutes, does help you on the PK. I think that's an intriguing option, especially because he is a deteriorating asset for Nashville, who's kind of also in that funky purgatory place where they don't really have an answer. Like, they signed a bunch of vets last year to try to make the playoffs. They failed. They then are going younger again. So I don't know what they're going to do if he's even an option available on the trade market, but I think that is an option that's willing to be explored.
Yeah, again, small forward.
Yeah, I know.
He's not like a bitch. Like he
plays playoff hockey.
He plays playoff hockey. He's going to get his nose in there. He's, like you said, he's won cups. He's done. That would help the locker room for sure. Was he? He was in Tampa with Stevie, right? No, it was before Stevie, or
he was in Vegas.
Yeah, but he played in Tampa for a couple of years.
Yes.
But was it with Stevie or after?
It was with Stevie.
Okay, yeah. So
the name is there too.
Would that move? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't love it. It would definitely help.
Wait,
I feel like that would be more of a.
Never mind.
Wait, what? What? Huh. Never mind.
He's 34. Never mind. I'm not signing a guy who's 34 until 2029. Never mind.
No, he's not on a deal still?
No, he's on a deal. He's on a deal until 2029, and he's already 34.
Oh, yeah. No.
So he's going to be 38 at the end of the contract.
That's 4 more years. Man, that's a shame because
I thought he was 32. That's my bad. I thought he had a little bit more juice left in the tank.
He's small, but he's gritty.
He's gritty.
He's not.
Yeah.
He'll play your PK.
That's like the same thing with like Carter Bear. Like, yeah, he's small, but he's not a bitch.
No, not even close.
Like Marchessault's small, but he's not a bitch. And he would provide a good locker room guy. I think it would be like an enhanced David Perron type of vibe in the locker room from him. But, yeah, no. If we're going to have him until he's 40 years old, no, I do not want him.
Yeah, I think that's where we got to get off the highway on a lot of these guys.
Lot of these guys. Unless they're 40 right now, and you can sign them like JVR to a 1-year deal. But, no, I don't want to trade young assets for a guy who's in his late 30s and signed to a 5-year deal. No.
So this is actually intriguing, in my opinion. And it's Jared McCann. He's 29 years old. He's only signed until 2027. $5 million cap hit. He put up 61 points on Seattle last year. He plays left wing. He plays good defense. I believe he plays in the PK. He has experience in very good settings. He played in the for the Pens during their time where they were still competing, and then he got picked to Seattle in the expansion draft. He's been there for 4 years. He's put up a respective 50, 70, 60, and 61 points while playing in every single game for the most part. He's missed max 10 games in a season.
He's missed 3 games in the past 3 years. 5 games in the past 3 years.
He's got a good plus-minus rating. That's a guy I could totally see Steve Yzerman going after. He's got a little bit of term to him. He's not too old, but he's honestly a depreciating asset for Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, I like that fit. Big dude, not some 5'9" winger. Like, he's a 6+,
6'1",
200-pound guy that's going to go out there.
Got some skill to him.
Yeah. That would help your top 6, absolutely. How long is he signed for, you said? Until?
He's signed till 2027.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Okay. That's something I can get behind. You bring in a guy that's going to help you for a couple years. If it works out, you re-sign him. If it doesn't, you're not going to give up. You're not going to have to give up one of your elite prospects to get him.
No.
You're going to have to give up a secondary guy, but that's fine. I'm more than willing to do that.
You'd probably give up ammo and a pick for him.
Yep. Please. No, seriously. Jared McCann, I liken his game to Brian Rust.
Yeah.
Just a guy who scores on the 5-on-5, plays in the PK, is a winning hockey player even on a team that's not winning. So bring Jared McCann home. And on this team, boy, would he have value.
And as you notice what we're doing here, we're providing a lot of guys that add 5-on-5 scoring to this team because that's what you need to do.
Yes.
So Jared McCann, that would be it wouldn't be like a, oh shit, Hockey Town's back move, but that would be a good move to solidify your top 6 and give you a big asshole who can play a lot of minutes in 5-on-5.
Who would help Larkin and would help Raymond.
Yes, I would like that very much.
So to just take that whole segment that we just talked about, the people who we would be interested in as of right now on the trade market would be
number 1, Brian Rust.
Sure.
Ricard Raquel, and Jared McCain on the forward end.
Yeah.
Those 3 names. Kumbaya? Those 3 names.
Yes.
Would all be good on
I would be happy with any of those guys. Yes.
Perfect. On the defensive end, I think we're all out on Rasmus Andersson.
I'm not out.
It would be a gamble, but I'm not out. I see the potential.
I see the potential.
I wouldn't be in love with it, and we'd have to wait and see how it plays out, but I'm not out.
All right. I would say I am lukewarm on that one.
Okay.
Bowen Byram, I am also lukewarm on it. Because that's another risk.
Yep.
I am honestly more in on Erik Karlsson with salary retained.
Erik Karlsson being a guy that could run your power play. Like I said, he's an absolute cone defensively, but he's still very, very effective offensively. Put him with Edvinsson, have him show Edvinsson some offensive skills, and then
the next
help the
year
young
have
Swede.
Him help ASP.
Yeah.
I think we have proposed some pretty solid moves and some solid potential out there. So hopefully Steve Yzerman listens. He taps in. But thank you all for tapping in.
If Steve Yzerman gets a trade off for Brian Rust and Erik Karlsson, you'll hear me say nothing but good things about the offseason.
Yes, I will be lining up to say it's a B+ or an A- most likely.
And real quick, I know we're in the future now, so I'm just going to say it already happened. Welcome to Michigan State, Gavin McKenna. Appreciate you for joining the best hockey team in the nation. Just absolutely no doubt going to win the Natty this year. So fuck the Nittany Lions, dude. You knew you were a Spartan. Appreciate you.
Yeah, just better watch out for Western. We lost nobody. But that's going to do it for
but you didn't gain what we gained.
Wings. Thank you guys for tapping in and tuning in. Hopefully, by the time this drops, we're recording on Thursday. It drops on Saturday. So hopefully, there are some moves that have been made. And I'd be so happy if this is half dated.
Yeah.
Because they made a move.
Yep.
So thank you for tapping in. We'll see you in the next time. This has been Woodward Wings. Peace.
Peace.